What is going on? What is going on? Let me uh hold on one second, y'all. Had to jump on here real quick. Real quick. Do. Let's see. All right, what's all these pop-up coming up? Let me hold on. It's telling me to close off some of these browsers real quick. Hold on, y'all. All right. All right. Real quick. As you guys are coming on, um go ahead and tune or let me know where you tuning in from. I promise I will not be before you very long because I have a meeting in about 30 minutes. So um, I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. If you can hear me okay, just let me know that you can hear me. Like I said, I promise I will not be on here long, but I just wanted to share some thoughts. I'm noticing a very consistent conversation with people. And so I want to just share some thoughts and hopefully it can help some people. All right. Hopefully this will help some people. I know it will because it helps me. It helps me big time, big time, big time, big time. So um, let me know that you can hear me okay. As a matter of fact, here, let me do this. Yep, yep. Okay, good stuff. All right, so those that are going to be tuning in live, welcome. Those who are tuning in to the replay, welcome. So I promised you I will not be before you long because again I have a meeting in about 30 minutes. But I wanted to discuss something, and really this has been on my mind all day long. And honestly, I think it's because it's been inspired by what seems to be a very consistent conversation that I'm having with people, and it really ties into how you think, right? How you think and how you process information. So as you tuning in, don't be a stranger. Let me know that you tuned in and where you tuning in from. And by all means, definitely chime in on this conversation. So I cannot see your comments and everything yet if you are tuning in, but we'll make sure that if I don't, let me say it this way, if I don't respond, I'll go back in and I promise I'll respond at a later time. But I want to talk about something, right? And if you notice in the title, I call this Stankin Thankin, right? And um, I'm noticing a lot of people, obviously, with what's going on in the world today, a lot of people are becoming um, really disgruntled, if you will, in their minds and in the way they think about information. And so all day long, I've been thinking about this. I remember when I was teaching, right? And I used to teach math, science, history. I did phys ed. I did pretty much any subject you can think of. But one that I would say, as a former educator, I would say that I learned the most from was probably when I taught math. And here's why. Like a lot of people, math seems to be a subject that a lot of people kind of shy away from, or they run from, right? For whatever reason. Sometimes looking at numbers may intimidate them, or maybe they didn't learn the basics. I used to tell my students all the time that if you can master the basics of math, then you can pretty much learn anything in math, right? So the basics of math was what? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, right? So here's the interesting thing though. I began to realize that in addition to maybe them not mastering the basics, there was something going on up top in their minds that caused them to believe that they could not learn what they wanted to learn, right? And so what I started to do, again, we're talking elementary, right? So it gave me an opportunity to tap into their imagination. And if you're like me, you grew up watching Sesame Street, right? Before they started going like crazy with some of the stuff that I hear they talk about on here now. But here's the deal, right? So one of the things that I think that made Sesame Street so attractive, in addition to the puppets and so forth, was the way that they injected, or the way that they inspired us as children to use our imaginations. Right? I give you a prime example. So when they wanted us to understand numbers and how to add 1 plus 2, remember they would take a cartoon character in the shape of a number, and they will have this thing walking across the screen, and all of a sudden you're not even thinking about the fact that you're learning. Now you're just having fun because you see this puppet or this character across the screen, right? And so I took that same concept and I applied it in the classroom. And so what I would do is I would have my students literally close their eyes, especially those that you can tell that it was a challenge for them to grab the concepts of what I was teaching, right? And I knew that it was a challenge for them because a lot of times you have the individuals. I can always tell when a student wasn't very confident in what they were getting ready to write on the board, right? Because they would do one or a couple things, right? They would go on the board, and when they began to write the answer out, because I would never let them use calculators, right? I'm going somewhere with this, don't miss it. I would never let them use calculators, but what I would do is I would have them literally write out the steps. Let's say, for example, that we were doing long division. I will have them literally write out the steps that it took for them to get to the answer. Okay. And so what I would notice though is that you have some students that will come on the board and they would just write huge numbers, right? And in my mind, I'm like, okay, either they're super confident or they don't care if they get the answer wrong. They just like it is what it is, right? But then you had those students that would write real small where no one could see it. And then you had the individuals that would go to the board and they will write large enough, but they would pace back and forth. They would kind of just pace back and forth. And it would tell me that they're not really confident in what they were getting ready to write on the board, or they were super nervous about what other people would think, right? Ooh. So for that student that would pace back and forth, I would tell them things like put Velcro on your feet. I would always use a phrase like that, right? Like put the Velcro on your feet, which means just stay still and be confident in what you know. Now, how does this relate to what I want to talk about with you when it comes to stankin' thanking? Not stinking thinking, stankin' thanking, right? It's a different kind of funk when it's stank. So here's the deal. We have a tendency to look at the circumstances that we are or have experienced in our life, and we accept that as the reality of what it should be. If you recall, hopefully everybody that's watching this seen the movie The Matrix before, right? And I did a training on The Matrix a long time ago, and I'm gonna have to bring that back out. But if you remember in The Matrix, Neo had to come to the realization that he was in this invisible world or this false world, right? He was plugged into this machine, and it wasn't until he unplugged himself from the machine that he began to see things from a different perspective, right? So here is what's interesting to me. We all have the ability to create the world that we desire to see, whether that's good or bad. Okay. So my challenge to everybody that's listening to this right now, whether you live or watching the replay, is whatever world you're in right now, you created that by how you think on a consistent basis. Okay. Let me break this down. I'm not going to go super deep again because I have to get off and get to a meeting, but I want to just put this thought into your head for a second, okay? We've been created with the ability to conjure up a thought. And based on that thought, we create what we desire to see, whether that's wealth, whether it's lack or poverty, right? Whether it's health or whether it's sickness. We decide by painting a picture on our minds of what we desire to see. We may say out of our mouths all the time, I don't want this. I don't like, I'm sick of being broke. Well, it's interesting that you say that because if you're sick of being broke, the fact that you called out broke tells me and should tell you that you're thinking broke, right? And so here's how it works. Here's how this works. We have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind, okay? Don't let me lose you. A conscious mind and a subconscious mind. Your conscious mind is the logical thinking. It's really the thoughts that you coming up with every single day, right? Thoughts are just bombarding your mind on a consistent basis. These come through your conscious mind. Now, what's interesting though is that you have the ability to accept a thought as truth or not. And whatever you accept a thought to be as truth or not, your subconscious mind now takes that thought and it creates that in your life. Okay. Your conscious mind takes whatever picture you paint, right? It transfers it to your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind now by default begins to take that thought and literally transform and mold that very picture to become a reality in your life. If more of us understood the process of our thoughts, then we wouldn't be living a life full of stankin' thinking, right? No, Jody, I said stankin' thankin. It's a different type of funk. Stankin' thankin. Most of us would be experiencing something different, right? Now, I'm talking to myself at the same time as I'm sharing this with you because I've realized that there has been some areas in my life where I had some stinking thinking, and I would equate that to really this is just how it is, right? And even I'm telling you, even myself, I was slipping to this. But now here's what's interesting. Here's what's interesting. The same way that I allowed those thoughts to come in that got me off track from where I was heading in my own life is the same way that I can replace those thoughts that with what I desire to see. Okay. Um, Man, somebody help me out. I'm trying to remember. Man, I was just looking at not a video, but I was just looking at a meme of this guy. He was he was a painter. He had the afro. I just posted him not too long ago, but he had an afro and he would paint these like beautiful pictures all the time. But his voice was so monotone where it's almost like he takes you in this daze, right? And you just sitting there and you just like, man, this dude is super boring, but I can't wait to see what the finished product of this picture is going to look like. If somebody remember what his name is, it's slipping by me right now. Put his name in the comments down there. But here's my point. He will always start off, obviously, on a blank canvas. All painters do, correct? He would start off on a blank canvas, but before you know it, he would take globs of paint and he would just mix different paints and take different utensils and stuff, and he would make different shapes, just strikes and all this other kind of stuff, right? And to the untrained eye, he was just splattering paint on this canvas. But like I said, when it was all said and done, he was so good at what he did, where he would literally attract you to this moment that he was in. He saw something much bigger on this blank canvas, and he would do everything possible to help you see what he saw in his mind. He would take a blank canvas and he would create a painting. He would create a picture on the canvas, a blank canvas that was mind blowing every single time. You will see trees out in the distance. You will see the definition of water. You will see you will see the snow capped mountains. Oh my goodness, what was his name? Somebody's gonna remember his name. But he had the afro, and I may be dating myself. Somebody on here know who I'm talking about. But here's my point. Here's my point. You and I have been created to paint a picture on the canvas of our own imaginations, whatever picture we desire to see. It's no one else's responsibility. It's no one else's fault, if you will, that the picture that you desire to see is not manifested in your life. Okay. We have a tendency as people sometime, even Moses did it when God gave him instructions to instruct Pharaoh to let his people go. Even he came up with every excuse behind why something couldn't be. He told God that he stuttered. I'm not eloquent of speech, right? Every single reason, but God saw something much bigger. Here's my point. Where you are right now, you have created that picture in your mind. Where you desire to be, you have that same responsibility to paint that picture on your mind. Take the thoughts that are working against you and release those. Release those. The Bible says that whatever is pure, whatever, think on those things, whatever is pure, whatever is good, whatever is of good report, think on those things. Think about that. Think on those things. So if you want health, if you're dealing with a physical ailment in your body, you want health, think about what life would be like to experience sound health. What would life be like to experience wealth? What would life be like to experience restored relationships? What would life be like to experience successful business? What would life be like to experience no frustration, no stress, no lack? What would life be like? Right? Now, obviously, with the allotted time, I can't go super deep into how this process works. There's something coming where you can act, we can work together, and I can show you that, but that's not this moment. So, but here's the thing. I want to encourage you really to really understand how powerful your thoughts are, how powerful your imagination is. I really want you to understand that, how powerful your imagination is. You are the only creation that has the ability to take whatever you desire and create that on the canvas of your own imagination, and no one else can interfere with that. So much, I'm so confident in that because Jesus told us that if we can believe, think about this, if we can believe, all things are possible to him that what? Believes. Here is the exciting part about that principle. He said, all things are possible to him that believes. Nowhere in that principle does he say that someone else believing in what you believe in is necessary for you to have what he said you can have. Let that sink in for a second. Nowhere in that principle did Jesus say that you having what you desire is contingent upon whether or not someone else believes the same thing for you. Therefore, it's no one else's responsibility and it's no one else's fault. But it's your responsibility, it's my responsibility to make a decision starting right now that regardless of what it looks like, you are going to go to that place in your mind on a consistent basis and you're going to create the life that you desire to see. Whatever it looks like, whatever it looks like, I want you to become intentional about removing the stankin thanking out of your life, man, because we're in a time right now. We are in a time right now where solutions to problems are all around us. Literally, solutions to problems are all around us. What are you going to do to capitalize on this opportunity? Think about that. What can you do to capitalize on this opportunity? There, I remember my late mentor said this before. He said, "No money has left the planet." Think about that. No money has left the planet. If you're lacking financially right now, I want to share that same message to you. No money has left the planet. The only thing that we're lacking right now is ideas that we are choosing not to capitalize on. That's it. We're not digging deep enough into the creative genius that God has given us in order to create what we desire to see. As a matter of fact, in my book, The Lion's Den, I talk about, there's a chapter called Play the Movie, and I've referenced this before, but there's a chapter called Play the Movie where I break down the process and how to take your thoughts and literally paint a picture on your imagination, how you can literally write out the script for your own movie. I've trained my own mind where if I have to make a decision, right? I've trained my mind to literally go to that place, whatever the situation is. I literally go to that place and I say, okay, how will I react if I made this decision? If I go left, I will react this way. If I go right, I would respond this way. My mindset is set to always seek to respond and not react. We'll get deeper. Oh, my time. We'll get deeper at some point. You want to get to the point where when you begin to go there in your mind, You see yourself responding to what you desire to see. Okay? When you respond to what you desire to see, you are literally there. Oh, man. You are literally there. So you now tap into the emotion that is attached to that outcome. You with me? You're attached to the emotion that's attached to that outcome that you desire to see. This is why I ask you, what does it feel like to have XYZ? Whatever it is that you desire, what is it that you experience in the process of going there in your mind? Most people don't know how to do this because we're so bombarded with stankin' thinking. We're so bombarded with what's not that we miss what is. Let me say it again. We are so bombarded in our minds with what's not that we miss what is. Because the reality of it is, like Neo in the Matrix, we have the ability to unplug ourselves from the machine. We have that ability, but it's our responsibility to unplug. Then you have individuals that come along the way and they can tell you or they can show you, hey, listen, you can do this, you can do this. This is the process. This is how this works. But in order for that to take place in your life, you have to remove that stankin' thinking. It's detrimental to your future. It's detrimental to your future. I am so excited about my future because I tell you every morning and every night I visit my future. Every morning and every night. And so I can tell you exactly what's coming. And it's amazing because Jock and I, we talk about this all the time. And we have some big things coming, right? And so in order to be that person, in order to be qualified, if you will, to receive what I desire to see, I have to go there. I have to go there first, right? All my life I've been conditioned to believe that when I get it, I'll become that person. That's not how that works, okay? You have to go there first. You have to go there first before that comes to you. We can dig deeper later. We can dig deeper later. So here's the thing. I have to get off of here. I have another call, but get rid of the stankin' thinking. Get rid of the stankin' thinking. This is a consistent conversation that I find myself having. And again, if you're interested in learning how to really break that process down and really go into that, then just put a 1 down in the comments, whether you're watching the live or where you're watching the replay, and we'll reach out and we'll connect, and we'll definitely do that. But here's the thing, okay? Remember this. Let me recap this real quick. You and I, we have the ability to go wherever we desire to go in our own minds, and it's not contingent upon whether or not somebody else believes it for us, okay? If we believe it, it's a done deal. Now, on the other side of that, and we can talk about this next time, once you go there in your mind, don't miss this, okay? Once you go there in your mind and you literally experience what's attached to that. How does that work? Now you come back. Notice I'm saying this purposely. Now you come back and you take corresponding action based on what you saw and based on what it takes to get there. Okay? The Bible says that faith without works is dead. Okay? Faith without works is dead. There is a process to manifesting what you desire to see. There's a process to it, okay? And in that process, it takes work. It does not just fall out the sky. That's not how it works, okay? Listen, believing that it just falls out of the sky, theoretically speaking, caused me to live in a place of poverty for years. For years. Understand that poverty first starts in your mind. It's a mindset first, okay? It doesn't matter what it looks like, because I guarantee you, before too long, you're going to say, I remember this conversation. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. I have to get off of here, but replace the negative thoughts. Replace the stankin' thinking, right? It's a different type of funk. Replace the stankin' thinking with what you desire to see. My encouragement to you is this: before you do anything, you start off and you just First, you seek God. The Bible says to seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto us. Once you seek him first and you get direction from him, you take a moment. It doesn't have to be long. It can be 5 minutes. Take a moment and really just imagine what life would be like to have whatever it is that you desire to have. Imagine it. And then I want you to come back and take corresponding action. All right. We'll get deeper into that a little later, but I have to get off of here. But without realizing that you have this ability, you can remain in a place of poverty. You can remain in a place of frustration and stress for a long, long time. All right. So with that, I'm going to get off of here. I got to get ready for my meeting. Again, if you're watching the replay, let me know where you tuned in from. Family just got home, so now I'm on family duty. So with that, you guys always know, when you are living in your purpose, there's no such thing as competition. Go ahead, put a 1 in the comments if you want to get together, and we can jump on a call, and I can show you exactly how this process works, and we can begin working together to create the rest of your life. Because I promise you, once you get this principle, your life will never be the same. All right. So without further ado, love you guys. God bless you. I'll see you on the next video.